What's up, everybody? Welcome to Let's Get Drunk and Talk About Comics. It's a show where we...
Get on with it! I don't know, but it sounded British.
Hello, hi everyone, hello.
The British are coming!
Dear God, it's a British invasion.
Oh, you chaps sure know how to welcome a guest.
Whatever, you limey bastard.
Right, why am I doing this show again?
We promised you booze.
So you did. Very well then. I'm Lord Jimsicle, presenter of You Have Issues, a programme all about comics.
And I'm Mikey.
And I'm Dexter.
And these are 10 things you will not see in Captain America Civil War.
In the Amazing Spider-Man story arc, Mr. Parker Goes to Washington, which is in the Road to Civil War trade, we see that Peter is working for Tony,
Who is apparently acting like a super rich sex offender, sneaking cameras into their home to take a peek at Mary Jane's goods.
Tony is summoned to a hearing by the Metahuman Investigations Committee regarding the Superhuman Registration Act. During several hours of testimony, during which Peter gives a very heartfelt speech that backfires, the Titanium Man attacks.
And him and Spidey some shit up.
When the hearing proceeds the following day, Peter gives another speech, but this time as Spidey.
Which is immediately stricken from the record because you cannot testify in a Spider-Man costume.
That alone should have been on this list.
These events, of course, precede the Stanford incident, which we'll get to, but at the end of this arc it is revealed that Tony actually paid the Titanium Man
What a dick!
to attack him at the hearing so the committee could see Spider-Man defending them in an attempt to sway their opinions, which brings us to...
Let's get the obvious out of the way. Iron Fist has only just been cast and filming has only just begun, so we're not going to be seeing him anywhere in the MCU just yet, least of all in Captain America Civil War. In the comics, Iron Fist posed as Daredevil while Matt Murdock was imprisoned. Even if Iron Finn and other Netflix characters were in the movie and had been around for a while, this wouldn't have happened because of the following. It wouldn't make sense for Tony Stark to go to the Gestapo-esque lengths that he did in the comics by locking up heroes in the negative zone without trial. This being the case, Iron Fist wouldn't need to disguise himself as Daredevil, since very little, if any, characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe are going to be incarcerated.
This one plays out over 2 books, and you get to see what happens to Reed in between these moments in Fantastic Four number 540.
And Peter in Amazing Spider-Man 535. So Tony brings Peter to the Baxter Building to show him Project 42.
The prison in the negative zone that Reed has built with Tony and Hank Pym.
When Tony and Peter return, Peter asks for a moment alone with Reed and asks him why.
Reed relates the story of his uncle, Ted Richards.
No, not that one.
Reed describes his uncle, a writer, as eccentric, funny and colorful, yet stubborn and rebellious. When Ted is called into the House Un-American Activities Committee during the McCarthy era,
He pretty much tells him to go to hell.
Peter tells Reed his uncle sounds very brave, but Reed responds, "You're missing the point, Peter. He was wrong. He picked a fight he couldn't win."
In the end, Peter tells Reed, I think I would have liked your uncle a lot, but you loved him, then leaves him alone in the Baxter Building.
Oh, because the rest of the team had left, and Reed and Sue had a huge argument where she does $725,000 worth of damage to the Baxter Building and then leaves his ass. We forgot to tell you that part. My bad.
We will most certainly not see Hank Pym siding with Tony Stark. In the comics, Pym was operating as Yellow Jacket, an identity that was used as a villain in the Ant-Man movie. But more importantly, in that very same movie, he has made it abundantly clear that he has no love for the Starks or their technology, so any chance of him backing up Tony is just slim at best.
No hand. Don't put no hand up.
You don't have to. You're not showcasing a watch for Drew Carey.
Prodigy. Nope. Other one. No, that's Essex-based electronic music group, The Prodigy.
How the hell do you guys know about Essex? You don't seem like fans of Towie.
Stop trying to derail the show, James!
Yeah, you wank puffin.
Anyway, Prodigy is a relatively unknown character for many. Spinning out of the Slingers book, which in itself was based on the 4 alternate personas for Spider-Man that were created in the Identity Crisis storyline, Richie Gilmore hadn't been seen for a number of years before the Civil War began. In Frontline number 2, we see Prodigy on a rooftop in New York drunkenly declaring his opposition to the Superhuman Registration Act.
Iron Man shows up at first and tries to talk him down.
Until Prodigy throws a beer bottle at him.
And Iron Man kicks his ass.
Prodigy has since made appearances across a number of Marvel books, as have his teammates. But were it not for Frontline, we might not have ever seen the return of the Slingers.
So thanks, Paul Jenkins, for bringing back one of the worst sales gimmicks in Spider-Man's history.
Cheers.
Hear, hear!
Again, this is pretty obvious considering the rights issues for both of these characters, so this counts more as something I would have liked to have seen. This would have been a great opportunity to introduce Namor. In the trailer, the heroes are fighting on what I thought was an aircraft carrier, but it actually appears to be an airport runway. Which got me thinking, can you imagine how epic it would be to have Namor just leap out of the sea, land right between everyone, and just tell everyone to stop their bickering? Oh, one can dream, eh?
In the beginning of Matt Fraction's Punisher War Journal relaunch,
With absolutely gorgeous art by Ariel Olivetti,
Punisher straight up kills Stiltman with a rocket launcher and a gunshot to the head.
it's pretty savage.
So in issue 4,
With fill-in art from Mike Deodato
a wake is held by other D-list villains.
and Hobie Brown
The Prowler.
and Puma, for some reason, maybe because they started as villains, who knows.
Who cares?
Spidey actually shows up when a fight breaks out and scolds the attendees for their behavior at a wake. Then he tells Puma to get Hobie out of there before having Princess Python throw up on his feet.
After Spidey leaves, the villains start throwing up themselves, realizing they've been poisoned.
The bartender was the Punisher. All along.
What a twist!
Then the Punisher sets the bar on fire, seemingly killing everyone inside. And what a happy ending for everybody.
Well, that's not happy for anybody.
That is for Frank.
Right.
Every villain, bar a few exceptions, have wound up either imprisoned or dead in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So really, this just means there is no chance of them being made up into a Thunderbolts team. Not to mention that the majority of these villains are so egomaniacal that the thought of having to answer to someone like the government, S.H.I.E.L.D. or Stark himself would make them want to choose execution instead.
Penance. No, not that one.
Damn it, Marvel. Get your shit together.
Robbie Baldwin, or Speedball, leads his team into the Stanford Massacre, which is the catalyst for the Civil War.
For sake, no. Not that one.
I understood that reference.
In the pursuit of ratings for their reality TV show.
Initially presumed dead, he is found alive in Frontline number 1 due to Nitro's explosion having knocked him over 500 miles.
And I would knock 500 more just to be the man to... Tough crowd.
So they send him to prison.
Because his powers are seemingly burnt out, he is sent to a federal prison instead of a facility like The Raft or Project 42.
And he gets his ass beat.
A lot.
A whole lot.
But despite it all, he retains his humor and defiant attitude, even facing one of his tormentors in a boxing match, which leads to his powers returning.
And then he gets to the negative zone. And Reed Richards offers him a chance to testify in front of Congress and give his side of the story.
You see, Robbie has actually become a huge target for anger over the Stanford Massacre, being called Baby Killer throughout the majority of the Frontline story.
So Robbie shows up at the Capitol building.
In costume, no less.
And gets shot.
The bullet is actually lodged inoperably in his spine, causing constant and unending pain.
Since he still refuses to register, Robbie is sent to the Raft.
He thwarts an attempted escape, and then finally decides to get on board with the registration.
And then shit gets really weird.
Robbie burns his original Speedball costume and has a new one fashioned. A new one that looks like it fell out of a Clive Barker sketchbook.
Covered on the outside with spikes and a helmet that there's no way he could see out of, he takes on the name Penance.
Why they chose the name of a pre-existing and totally unrelated character?
Who the knows?
In addition to the spikes that are covering the suit, the inside is actually lined with 612 spikes, representing the 612 victims of the Stanford Massacre. Each of these spikes is penetrating just deep enough to cause discomfort and pain and some bleeding, but not enough to kill him.
So, how does this help him fight crime and shit?
No idea.
Well, I guess a more fitting name would have been something like, I don't know, Masochismo?
But instead we got...
Penance.
So those are 10 things you won't see in Captain America Civil War. We'd like to thank all of you for watching, and we'd also like to thank Lord Jimsicle from You Have Issues.
Oh, you're very welcome, chaps. Thank you very much for having me on the show.
If you want to check out more of either of us, here's a video from Jim's channel and another one from ours.
And make sure to leave a comment and hit us up at Twitter at Drunk Comics Fans.
I'm on 2 Twitter accounts. My personal one is at Jimsicle, and the show's account is at YHI Show.
And please hit up our Patreon page. We do this because we love it, but if you could donate any amount, it really helps us to put out more content for you, so we really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Bye! We'll miss you!